Hi, friends. It's me. And it's the one and only Bob. And we're going to get reading. I'm hopefully going to see some of you this afternoon at the parade. So I need to make sure I get this done so I can get it out there and get the sign set up. So, see you later. The shelter. I know our route to Ivan and Ruby by heart, and I can't even help but tug a bit, even though I'm not supposed to. It's been a couple days since I've seen my pals. I need my friend fix like I need air and water and belly rubs. We don't live far, down to the end of the street, around a corner, and good news source there, then a few more blocks. When I walk Julia, well, okay, I suppose it looks like she's walking me, but I beg to differ. There's a place we pass that always makes me jumpy and bummed. It's an animal shelter, and I know it's a good place, a spot for pets who don't have a safe home of their own. When I was abandoned on the highway, just a few weeks old, a nice cage with a soft towel in it and a bowl of fresh water, well, I would have given just about anything for that. Still, when I walk by and hear all those desperate barks and meows and squeaks, it gets to me. Sometimes having great hearing is a pain. Thing is, I realize I have a home and the gang in there doesn't, and I try not to think about stuff like that, you know. I mean, it's not like I can do anything about their rough breaks, right? And in fairness, maybe those animals aren't like me. I've always been a resilient, hardworking sort. Maybe some of those guys even made their own bad luck. Don't get me wrong, I try to be a nice guy. I do what I can to make the world a better place. Sure, chat with the guinea pigs, lick the strawberry jelly off Julia's hand, do my swag dance when the rents come home to make 'em feel good. You scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing. But it's like I said before, you gotta look out for numero uno. Guess that's why the shelter harshes my mellow. It's just, I'd rather not have to hear those guys every time I walk by. Makes me sad. Reminds me of the bad old days. Droolis. I knew this guy back when I hung out in the mall with Ivan and Ruby. Nice dog named Droolis. Hold on. Droolis. We talk about words that sound like what they mean, or they sound like an onomatopoeia. So Droolis. Why do you think they named a dog Droolis? Make that prediction. I hear the word drool in Droolis, so maybe he's a drooly dog. Basic mutt, maybe some lab and golden in there somehow. He done some hard time in a couple of shelters. One of those dogs, had seen more than a share of bad stuff in the world that can throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Droolis lived in his backyard. Winter, spring, summer, fall, chained up mostly. Flies on his food, empty water bowl way too often. Still, he always had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on my daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash cans. Once I saw his owner, again, that word, step onto the back porch. Droolis was barking, but he had a good reason. A stranger had passed by. Barking is what you're supposed to do in that circumstance, right? Maybe he's the UPS guy. Maybe it's a serial killer. Come on, we're not the FBI. So anyways, owner came out, big guy. I mean mean looking. Gave Droolis a hard kick to his boot. Yelled, "Shush, you fool!" And then disappeared. Droolis looked at me, kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again, put some towels on a line. Droolis headed over, tail between his legs, cowering, saying, "I'm sorry. I love you. I'm yours with this whole dog being thing." Guy completely ignored him, headed back inside. "He's having a rough time," Droolis said when the guy was gone. Nobody wants to be treated like that. Dogs, people, nobody. "He's a jerk," I said, because subtlety is not my strong point. "No, he loves me. He does." "Ha! He has a funny way of showing it." "Human," said Droolis, licking a sore on his leg. "You know how they can be." "Do I ever? But we gotta stay true. Love 'em. Forgive 'em." I thought about that. Thought about it a lot. "Why, though?" I finally asked. "Why do we have to forgive them?" Droolis looked shocked, then confused. "And if just to ask why the cheese tastes good, it just does." "That's the way it is," he said. "That's what we do, Bob." I just started to reply, but managed to hold my tongue, which is not easy for me to do. Now, when he says to hold your tongue, does he mean to do this? Hold tongue? No. It means just to not say anything. Kind of like the saying, if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. Same idea. There was no point in making Droolis feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found half a turkey sandwich, gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I had a taste first, but still. Forgiveness. And we talk about forgiveness a lot as second graders, didn't we? Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zombies or doing bed boogies. It's written in our old canine souls. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo. The one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive the humans who toss me and my siblings out at night? When you forgive, you lose your anger. And when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you get hurt all over again. He's got some really big thoughts. So let's stop a second. His thoughts are about forgiveness and who we forgive and why we forgive them. Now, we talk about forgiveness at school, and we talk about that when a friend accidentally bumps into us, we should really forgive them, and it should be probably an easy forgiveness because accidents happen. But when somebody is mean to us over and over again, we've talked about it, and we know that that's hard. It's not easy to forgive. But we've also talked about that sometimes forgiveness is something that sets us free and makes us feel better. A big concept that Bob is dealing with right now. And to him, if he forgives, sometimes it makes him feel weak. So maybe he's not sure what to do. He might need some advice. The Art of Human Watching is the next chapter. By the time we reach the park, the sky is definitely in the bad mood. Gray clouds galloping like panicked horses, the nervous scent of rain on the way, and the kind that makes you antsy in your own skin. When we get near the employee entrance, I hop into Julia's backpack like always. We enter through the special gate where George shows his ID, checks in, and says hi to the staff. Pet dogs aren't allowed at the park, Natch. Foxes, wolves, jackals, my dog cousins, they are. But in my opinion, even though they're technically part of my extended family, they're nothing like dogs. Only dogs have perfected the art of human watching. The smartest thing we ever did was figure out how important the human gaze is. So often when we follow our owner's eyes, we're rewarded with something amazing. A smelly sock, a glazed donut that's fallen out of a smelly stock. We follow every blink, every sidelong glance. We see it whenever it is, before humans do. We understand before they do. And there's a glazed donut involved. We eat it before they do. Puppy eyes. It's mid-morning, still pretty early. There aren't any visitors around yet. We've got a meeting in 20. George tells a couple workers, Hank and Sonia, who are grown. Just a quick one, going over contingency plans. One last time. It's in case there's any flooding. During the last hurricane, a small part of the park flooded, mostly near Reptileville. Reptileville. Where do you think that is? Where do you think is in the Reptileville? Reptileville. So I know that sometimes they call a town a ville or an area ville. And reptiles, the very first part of it. Reptileville. It's a home for reptiles. List a reptile. If Ilias is watching, he's got lots of good ones. George helped move cages. He came home smiling like cotton mouths and copperheads. It was all I could do not to barf. Weather Surfers just issued a tornado watch, Hank says. I thought we were having a hurricane, Julia says. We are, Gus, but sometimes tornadoes are spawned during hurricanes, George explains. Spawn means come off of, so if there's a hurricane coming, then sometimes tornadoes also happen because of it. Julia frowns. But a watch means maybe, not for sure, right? Yeah, but I want to make sure but I want you to head home, George says, just in case. Please, Dad! Just 10 minutes, Julia says. She's using the special voice she reserves for moments when she really, really, really wants something from her parents. I guess kids manipulate their moms and dads the same way dogs manipulate humans. I don't know, George begins. I promised, Bob. I figure that's my cue to pop my head out and look adorable, so I do. Hey, Bob, says Hank. Sonia reaches over and scratches my ears. I'm pretty popular around the park. I give George my best puppy eyes. And he caves. 10 minutes tops, he says. Meet me back here. Puppy eyes. Works every time. Bye, friends. Hope to see you at the parade. Maybe.